So Jonathan had this really crazy sign. He said, this will be a sign unto us. How many of you are sign people? You got to have a sign. You got to have a sign. I guess I'm the only one. God, give me a sign. God, give me a sign. And God's like, I tried to give you like 50 signs and you weren't paying attention. And God, give me a sign. This is what Jonathan's sign was. This will be our sign that we're to go and attack them. If they come out and tell us, come on up here, we'll come up there and we'll fight them. If they say, wait down there, we'll wait down there. Is that a sign? No, if it is, it's the stupidest sign ever. Jonathan was so passionate about wanting to fight that he made this ridiculous sign. And so what do you think they're going to say? They've got the high country. Come up here. One part of the cliff to the north, I believe, is Bozaz. The part of the south was Sina. You know what Bozaz means? It means slippery. Anybody ever have to climb something that's slippery? You can't, I mean, you have no sure footing. It's harder for you to climb. And the other side was Sina, which means a cliff full of thorns. That didn't sound fun. But Jonathan climbed like a dog up that hill. Are you climbing? Or have you settled in your climb and say, you know what, I'm tired of climbing? Engage the enemy. Continue to climb when you don't feel like it. When you want to settle, continue to climb. 1 Corinthians 16, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men. I don't believe this is like sexist. I think it's like, hey, giddy up, let's do this. Be strong. The kingdom of heaven suffers violent, but the violent take it by force. And sometimes, let me help you. Understand this. Pick the right battle. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of this dark age. Quit fighting your cousin, Leroy. Come on. Leave Leroy alone. He's got his own issues. I don't care what he said on Facebook. I don't care what he did. Let Leroy alone. Let God take care of Leroy. Fight the enemy that's fighting your family, your kids. Fight the one that's coming against us to kill, steal, and destroy. Let's fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, and say, God, we are going to fight. We're not going to fight one another. And I said, don't fight the church. There's just so many people. I have opportunity to serve as a leader for this area. Listen, there's so much stupidity that goes on in the church, and I don't like it. We're not going to fight at each other. We're going to fight together. A world that is hurting, that needs help, that's going to not make it unless we fight together, shoulder by shoulder, and we come against the forces of darkness. But we have to engage the enemy. The last thing is this. When you are uncomfortable, God will send a panic, I love this, to the enemy. I didn't have this in my notes, but in verse 16, because of what Jonathan and his armor bearer, when they got to the top, Jeff, you know what they did? They took the one sword. I don't know what the armor bearer did. Armor bearer evidently killed someone and took their sword. I don't know. But in the span of a half an acre, the Bible said they killed over 20. That's pretty impressive. I don't know if there was 30, 40, 50, but what I do know is the Bible says, catch this in verse 16, then panic struck the whole army. Those in the camp and in the field, those in the outposts and those in the raiding parties, and the ground shook. And catch this, it was a panic sent by God. Does God send the panic without Jonathan and his armor bearer? I believe with all my heart that the Church of Jesus Christ can initiate a panic sent by God to cause our enemies to panic, to cause this time, these uncertain times, and what's going on in our political environment, what's going on in our world. Did you know in a matter of moments we could be in World War III? And I'm not trying to be a doomsday prophet, but listen, the stage is set. Would you be crazy enough to move on a perhaps? No, Pastor, I need a word from God. I'm going to give you a word from God. Perhaps it's enough. Surrounded by the enemy, perhaps is enough. I got to do something. I got to do something. I'm not going to just sit here and be comfortable. I'm going to be uncomfortable. And my uncomfortability is going to push me. I got to get outside of my comfort zone, and I got to climb up that hill. I got to climb up that mountain. And I need some more climbers with me. You see, the perhaps went from a perhaps to a maybe. And a maybe went to a rout of the enemy. And a rout of the enemy went to a panic of the entire army of the Philistines. And this was a day that changed everything. Because one man asked another man, hey, can you help me? Would you stand with me?